Hey everyone, Josh Baldwin here with Vegan Fit. I'm with my buddy Daniel today, who has done a lot of amateur bodybuilding and is in awesome shape, definitely much better shape than I am. So he's going to talk to you guys about like his 10 tips for like bodybuilding, getting great shape. Like what exactly do you want to kind of talk about?
Well, like I said, top 10 tips. The number one tip is you got to know your body. You got to know what routines your body responds best to. If you don't know your body, you're not going to get to point A to point B in the most efficient way. And that's what it's all about, right? You don't want to work any harder than you have to. You want to be efficient. You want to, if you can work out an hour as opposed to 2 hours, why work out 2 hours unless you really, that's really your thing. So knowing your body is going to help you stay basically out of injury, and it's going to help you be efficient in your workouts and get to your
So what do you mean you say like know your body? Do you mean like, you know, what type of workouts or what exactly?
What type of workouts are going to get you the results that you're looking for? Whether that's more leanness, whether that's better cardio, whatever the case might be, you want to know what that is, what that routine is, or routines.
Okay. What do you think for most people? Like you find like what is that routine for most people that works? So most efficient thing for most people.
Most efficient thing for most people, that's hard to say. You know, we've dealt with so many different people and so many different age ranges and physical abilities. But, you know, if you're talking about your middle age, 20s, 30s type of routine, you're talking about 40 minutes of cardio, pretty hard. And mild to heavy lifting in terms of free weights and everything. You know, it just ranges so much. It really does.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
So you got to kind of, it's one thing I tell the clients, again, we kind of have to experiment a little bit with the type of routines, the type of, changing up the cardio a little bit and seeing what's more effective for you.
Right.
How long do you think, for me, I always tell clients a couple weeks you should notice a difference, right? So if you try a new routine to see if it's working for you, what do you think, like a few weeks you should be able to see something?
You should be, if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Definitely a few weeks. Obviously everyone's a little bit different, but for the most part, on the average, I'd say a few weeks is probably sufficient to see a difference. And if you don't, you might want to change something up because you're probably not doing something right.
So definitely number one, basically, figure out what works for you the best. You got to kind of experiment a little bit.
Definitely. I mean, this is really a scientific experiment. You are the control, you are the scientific experiment, you're the guinea pig.
Right.
So you have to kind of work through some things and figure out what works best for you.
Okay. All right, so what is number two?
Number two is lifting heavy does not necessarily mean lifting smarter. Now, this goes back to number one point. You'll see a lot of these points kind of relate back to one another. By now, we've probably all heard this mantra, if you will, but you still see a lot of people lifting heavy. A lot of people lift heavy, and that's great. A lot of people, you love lifting heavy. That's great. That's what people like. But you just got to know what your body can handle.
Yeah, and I've definitely learned over the years that the heavy stuff's not always the best for me. It definitely led to some injuries. I got the pec tear right now and some other stuff. So I'm definitely transitioning more to lighter weight and body weight stuff, whereas you've been doing that stuff for a while.
Right.
Because you had a lot of injuries.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of fortunate, I suppose, and I've had a lot of minor injuries that have taught me early on that you can't lift but so heavy before your body starts breaking down. I don't care if you're Ray Lewis, I don't care who you are, your body's going to break down if you lift heavy for a long enough period of time. I remember when I was in Wolfgangs, I saw all those guys, a lot of great bodybuilders taught me so many things, and they also taught me that over time, again, your body just wears down. You can't sustain that kind of activity.
Well, and the question is good too, is, you lifted heavy for a long time, and you haven't been lifting heavy for a couple of years now. Have you lost any muscle because of that? Not really, it doesn't look like it to me.
No, I wouldn't say I lost any muscle. I mean, whatever I've lost in terms of muscle memory, I've been able to gain back pretty quickly. If we were to go lift heavy right now, I'd struggle the first day.
But I mean, as far as looks go though, right? Like,
as far as aesthetics go, looks go, no, I haven't. I don't think I've lost much aesthetically, looks-wise. I think I've actually... I've leaned down, of course, but I pretty much look the same in terms of muscle mass.
Yeah, so don't always go heavy. That's number two.
So number three is one of my favorites. It's something that Arnold always preached. It's visualize, visualize, visualize. This goes back again to point number one in terms of having your plan in place before you start lifting, at least seriously, or really on a less serious basis. You need to know when you're going into the gym every day, or at least once a week, you need to know what your goal is, and you can do that. One of the ways you can do that is through visualizing what you hope to look like a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a year from now. Even when we're working out, I know Arnold would always talk about when he was doing a bicep curl, he would think about the muscle fibers tearing, and that's how he would really be able to work through this painful and long and just just very hard workouts that he'd go through is he would visualize his muscles and where he wanted to
visualize
be.
The gains.
Visualize the gains,
right,
exactly.
Right.
Visualize being Mr. Olympia. Obviously, a lot of us are not going to, that's not our aspiration.
Right,
whatever
right.
our aspiration is, if we visualize that, that's going to help us achieve that goal.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good tip.
Okay, so here's another one. This is number 4, and this is, again, develop a plan and develop strategies to reach your plan, your objective, whatever that might be. If you don't have a clear idea of where you're going to be, it's going to be hard to get there in an efficient way. You're just going to be stumbling along, and you might get so deterred that you'll quit, and you'll lose any progress that you've made, and you might never do it again because, you know, that's your experience, especially that's your first experience, and that is your basically success to failure ratio. A lot of people just don't recover from that. It's just like anything in life. You need to have that plan in place, and if you don't, you're going to stumble. You're not going to get there very
so plan not only obviously plan your workouts, plan your food, plan everything out.
Everything, yeah. Plan on, you know, if you're taking a vacation, plan on having certain foods along with you so you're not cheating too much, so you're not getting too far off the wagon. Have a good time, of course, but also keep in mind that everything plays into your fitness objectives.
So make sure it's always something that's on your mind every week. You got to plan out your food. Obviously, meal prepping is a big deal. But also planning out, you know, okay, I'm doing this routine, these circuits this week because I'm looking for these results this week or whatever it may be, right?
Right.
Don't just kind of wing it as time goes by.
Right, and that keeps it fun for you. If you're planning things in advance, you can make sure that you're having a good time with it. You're not struggling along, always worrying about whether you're going to get this meal or that meal or whether you're going to be able to eat healthy or whatnot. So you have all that in place, you have a plan in place, and you can stick to your fitness goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so number 5 closely relates to number 4. It's basically developing a practical diet that you're going to be able to sustain over the long term. This applies to bodybuilders or anyone who's really dieting. If you're not creating a sustainable diet that you're going to have fun with, a good time with, you're not going to stick with it, you're going to fall off the wagon, and your progress is going to go into a nosedive. And that's absolutely what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I always tell clients, you know, they always ask me, well, what's the best, you know, diet? What's the best food plan? But the truth is, I always tell them, you know, we got to find something you like. If you don't like it, this is not going to work out very well, right? You don't have to love your food, okay? That's great if you can. But if you hate greens, you hate berries and stuff like that, this will be harder for you. But you got to try to manipulate your diet enough to where you at least enjoy it a little bit. You're not dreading your food. You should never be like that. I always look forward to my meals. I mean, it might not be my favorite meal ever, but I always look forward to them.
Definitely. I mean, there are too many options out there right now for you not to be able to enjoy your food. If you look in the right places, that's not only affordable, but they're the right options that you're going to be able to enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be healthy, and you're going to reach your goals that way. So number 6, going back to buying those foods, you got to be aware about some of these products, these pre-workout, these post-workout products, you know, basically the supplements. Be aware of what they're advertising. Be aware of the actual evidence behind those and what you can actually achieve with each product. You're going to be spending a lot of money potentially on products that might not do what they say they're going to be doing. A lot of people are buying. I mean, the industry, supplement industry is $1 billion industry. You got to be careful what you're doing. A lot of these products are going to be advertising things that they're not going to be able to achieve. So instead of spending all your money or a lot of hard-earned money on products that might not give you the results that you're looking for, do a little research, look into a little bit more, ask around the gym. If you're at a big bodybuilding gym in particular, ask people what they've used, what gains they've reached, and also be skeptical of what they're saying in terms of they might not be the best resource. Depends on how far you trust them, how much you trust them, and it's just really going to help you out in the long term because there's no supplement for hard work in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, supplements are tricky because, you know, what might work for someone else might not do much for you.
Right.
I'm a great example of that. I really don't get much out of creatine. I've never seen a big boost from it. Some people, they'll take it. I've had clients will take it for a few weeks and they get a pretty good, like a noticeable difference in like a month. And that's great for them. So you got to kind of play around with them as well. Research helps a lot, but also, you know, play around with them. See what works for you.
Yeah, and the great story is for creatine seemed to have worked for me for a little while, and it's just stopped working. You know, now it might have been placebo all along, I don't know. And that's the thing about it is you really never know if it's really working unless you just like gain 10 pounds of muscle mass in a week. Then you know something's up about that, but that's not going to happen. So just beware, be careful, do your research, and hopefully you'll make the right choice. So number 7, I mentioned that in the last point, but number 7 is hard work is still the number 1 factor in you gaining mass or reaching your goals, fitness goals overall. If you're not working hard, you're not going to get anywhere. Now, I'm not talking about killing yourself, I'm talking about being smart, but also working hard at the same time. You look at the Arnold videos or any of his books, any of the things that he says about working out, he worked very hard. There was a lot of sweat and a lot of tears. Maybe some blood there. Obviously, a lot of us don't want to be like Arnold, but it's still the same thing. Hard work is your number 1
And I think
factor.
another thing to keep in mind is a lot of people get discouraged because they see people in the gym who don't work that hard and they get great results. Well, that's good for them, but that's probably not going to be your situation.
Right.
I mean, there can be, a lot of guys out there in the gyms who have like phenomenal genetics, and that's good for them. But you cannot compare yourself to every single person. Maybe your genetics just aren't as good as theirs. You got to work hard.
Right. That's a great point. Your fitness goals, your fitness plans, who you are, that's all that matters when you're in that gym. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. You can look up to other people. You can visualize what you want to look like based upon their appearance. But ultimately, your body, you are a unique individual, and you have to base your own goals off of that uniqueness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So number 8, I mentioned this in a few of the other points before. Bodybuilding is more a way of life than it is something that you can pick up and put down on a regular basis. You really have to live this out every day. You have to incorporate it as a part of your life. That sounds kind of boring, it sounds kind of constricting, but after you do it for a while, if this is something that you really want to do, it's not going to be very difficult. It's just going to be who you are. It's going to be second nature. And that's really the way to ensure long-term success. It doesn't have to be anything negative. Obviously, it needs to be something positive if you're going to sustain it. And that's the way you do it, through incorporating it every day in your life and looking at it a positive thing. You can make that a long-term successful thing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If you just do it for a few weeks, right? The workouts, the meal planning, all that stuff, it just becomes natural and it's not a chore. It's nothing anymore. That's just who you are now.
So number 9. So this is something that has been taboo. I don't think it's as taboo as it once was. But if you choose to take anabolic steroids, do your research, talk to some people who might be using it, who you know of, and make sure it's the right thing for you. I think a lot of people rush into it without really researching and understand the long-term or short-term consequences. And that is that's my biggest concern really when people do that. If you want to use it, that's your body, that's your choice, and I'm fine with that. I don't judge anyone for it. But if you're going to do it, do a little research, understand what the consequences are.
And also, understand if you want to get into that you're going to be competing in different types of bodybuilding shows too, right? So it's like, yeah, you're going to be bigger, but you're competing against bigger guys. So if you want to be enormous, that's obviously you're going to have to. There's no getting around that, right? But if you just want to be like in great shape, right? Maybe you want to compete at like 180 or 200 pounds. You can go to there's a ton of growing like natural bodybuilding type of shows that actually test for that stuff, so you can't do it.
Yeah, OCB is a good one. But also keep in mind too, if you take anabolic steroids, you still have to work hard. You're not going to grow massive amounts of muscle by just taking anabolic steroids. You still have to work for it. You still have to gain that muscle. So it's not a magical cure-all. You still have to put effort into it. Okay, so last but not least, number 10. So if you're going to compete in a bodybuilding show, whether it's amateur, professional, whatever the case might be, you need to find a mentor. You need to find somebody with experience, because there is no substitute for experience when you're going up there on stage in a very short amount of clothing, with a lot of people watching you, with shaved armpits and all that stuff. It's not exactly the most natural thing to most of us, and you're gonna be nervous. I think most people are going to be after 20 shows. So you need to find somebody who's going to be able to show you the ropes, show you how to pose, show you what to do, your routine and everything like that. Get you ready for that mentally and physically before you go there. There's no substitute for experience.
Yeah, I have no history of that. I have no concept of what that's like. I imagine it'd be very awkward, very uncomfortable, and it's such an interesting thing. I mean, it is a sport in a lot of ways. Not only do you need to look good, but you need to know how to pose, you need to know where you're supposed to smile and all that kind of stuff like that, right? There's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into it for sure. If you don't know what you're doing up there, judges will know it. Everyone will know it who's been there, because most people have been there a number of times. And you'll find that most people there in those shows are very supportive of you. Your teammates or your competitors, they're very supportive of you too, because they know you've done a lot of hard work to get there, and they're very respectful of that. So it's not going to be this, situation where you're not talking to the people you're competing against. They'll be supportive of you. You'll have a good time, but just make sure you're prepared for it when you actually do it.
So that is the 10 bodybuilding tips from Daniel. Definitely a big help for you guys out there trying to get started or trying to really get into bodybuilding. You know, it's obviously a lot of hard work, and if you just want to get in really good shape, that's another thing, right? This channel is all about getting you guys in great shape, helping you understand the workouts, understand meal plans, all that kind of stuff. If you check out my website, veganfitonline.com, I sell meal plans, workout packages, all that kind of stuff to get you in great shape. But bodybuilding is a whole different level, right? It's a big step up from just being in very good shape. So totally different level. So if you have any questions, leave them down below and he'll get back to them, or I'll get back to you with answers. If you have any questions, just definitely put those down there. If you guys like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys at the next video.
Shut down.